Warm greetings everyone. My name is Aditya Kumar Jindal, and in this video presentation, I'm going to present in front of you a detailed analysis on the recent developments that have taken place between India and China. Also, we will have a better understanding about the locust attacks which are plaguing our country currently. First, let's discuss the timeline in which these developments have ultimately culminated and what are the events that have taken place. Firstly, starting from the May 5 to 6, 2020, the Indian and the Chinese troops or the soldiers from both the sides have scuffled at the Pangong Tso Lake in Ladakh. Then the same turmoil was observed at the Nakula in the Sikkim region of our country. Due to these heated engagements, the situation in the whole area was on a constant boil. To calm this particular situation down, on June 6, the first rounds of COP command level talks took place in which the both sides have finalized an agreement to disengage gradually from all the standpoints, beginning with the Galwan Valley, which lies in the Ladakh region. But the talks could not extinguish the fire in the area, and on June 15, 2020, violent clashes occurred in the Galwan Valley, which is in the Ladakh region, of course, in which the 20 of our soldiers from the Indian Army were martyred. On the 22nd, 2020, the second round of COPS command level talks took place, and the both sides reached a mutual consensus to disengage in the western Ladakh sector. And uh, India has expressed its willingness to restore the status quo that was prevailing in the valley before the first level of talks or the first standoff took place in May 2020. Uh, so there was a series of events and the talks that were taking place. As, this series continued in the form of 2nd July 2020, in which the third round of Corps Commander level talks took place, in which the both sides have emphasized on the expeditious, phased, and the stepwise de-escalation in the areas close to the line of actual control, that is the LAC. And for these talks, the Ladakh region was set as a priority area for them. Finally, some work on the ground was observed on 6th of July 2020, in which the former disengagement was observed from the friction points, and this disengagement formally kicked in on 6th July 2020. After that, the fourth round of talk that took place on 13 July 2020 was the first round of talks or the first phase of talks that took place after the first phase of disengagement between the both sides and the military of both sides. So this was basically the timeline that took place or the events that took place in the whole scenario. But you must be knowing that the LAC is mostly a land frontier, but at the Pangong Tso, it forms a aqua frontier as well, as you can observe it on the map as well. So this particular area is overlooked by finger area with different set of cliffs that are known by the name of fingers that are extending out of the whole area. India claims the LAC to be coterminous uh, up to the area of figure 8, that is F8, that you can see on this particular map. But physically, it controls the area up to F4 only. China, on the other hand, is having a border post at the F8, while at the LAC, uh, while the LAC, according to it, passes through finger 2, as you can see on the map as well. Now, let's discuss why the various kind of face-offs are usually observed in this particular area and why this area is on a constant turmoil. See, these face-offs usually occur due to the non-demarcation or unclear demarcation of the LAC. India and the China are having the overlapping claims over the LAC, which leads to such clashes and such unclaimed or unprecedented situations ultimately come up. Secondly, or the second reason can be the non-implementation of the protocols that were agreed. In 2005 and 2013, certain rules of engagement were provided to prevent such incidences of the face-offs, but these protocols and the rules that were set in were not always adhered to by the both parties, and ultimately the strictness of such rules was not followed. So now let's move forward to understand the response of both the parties after such aggression actually take place at the LAC. See, looking at the India's response first, India has sought to strengthen itself militarily in the region and has moved in the additional divisions, tanks, and the artilleries across the LAC to match the Chinese deployments that is usually on the large scale as compared to India. Further, to show the support that India is having in this region, it has approved the purchase of 33 Russian fighter jets and upgrades to 59 warplanes at the cost of approximately 18,000 crore. Not only this, India has also responded on the economic front. That means it is going to hurt China economically also. And in this, India has ultimately banned the 59 Chinese applications like TikTok, etc., which were suspicious of data mining and were infringing the privacy of its citizens. Plus, the India is also showing, and the citizens of India are also showing hostility towards the Chinese products and also boycotting them. And they are saying no to the products which are made in India. Due to this, there is a decline in the amount of imports that we are doing from China, and due to this, there is a dip in the India's trade deficit with China. Not only this, the FDI or the foreign direct investment from China in India has dipped to the quantum of 160 million in 2019-20 from 2020 from dollar 220 million in 2018-19. So you can see that there is a dip in the foreign direct investment from China as well. Here you must remember that the government of India in April 2020 has tightened the FDI norms which are coming from the countries which share land borders with India. And for the investment which is coming from these countries, the approval or the prior approval from the government is very necessary. So it was all for the India's response. Now, responding to all the events that India has responded with, China has said that this particular Chinese app ban or the app ban was a deliberate interference in the practical cooperation between the two countries. Also, the Chinese state media has warned the economic repercussions for India and has said that ultimately the investments which are coming from China will be affected by these kind of events that have taken place on the India's part. Now, let's move forward and understand that why there is increased deployment at the LAC by China. See, first point is itself very obvious that there is a large scale tilt uh, or a outburst in the relations of India and the US. Also, India is getting more influenced by the US. As you must be remembering, or you must have heard, that there was a Quad group that was formed by India, uh, Japan, Australia, and the US. And this particular Quad group was formed amid the US China tensions. So China was not very happy about the formation of this particular group. Also, India uh, has particularly engaged in strengthening its activities and improving the border infrastructure that it is having around its frontiers. And this particular example can be seen in the form of Darbuk Shiok Daulat Beg Oldie Road that India has constructed near the LAC. Also, and the Chinese growing assertiveness over the various parts of the world is no secret now. And the South China Sea is also observing various assertiveness from China, and it is trying to capture as many islands and area in that particular region. Also, uh, China is being blamed for the for the COVID-19 pandemic. So there are a large-scale political and economic tensions in India due to the blame game that is going on in the amid these crises. Also, India is having a firm stand on the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, that is the CPEC, and its growing power in the Asian region provides us the capability to stand in front of China and say that this is of sheer infringement of our sovereignty and we will not allow it to happen. So these were the reasons that why China is not so happy and is increasing its deployment at the LAC. So from this we can conclude that the momentum that was gained in the relations after the two informal talks or the informal summits that took place in Wuhan and Mahabalipuram in 2018 and 2019 respectively has certainly been lost, and the relations between the two countries stand at the lowest point since 1962. So until the strategic calculus and the India's broader view of its relations with the India changes, the stalemate is likely to continue and certain peace will not occur in the whole region. So this was all about the recent developments that have taken place between India and China. Now let's move forward towards our next topic, that is the locust attacks. But first, let's have a look at what these locusts actually are. See, these locusts are certain species of short-horned grasshoppers that have a swarming phase. They are considered as the oldest migratory pests in the world. These desert locusts are voracious eaters. They eat the food equal to their body weight every day, and due to which, in just 3 breeding seasons, they can increase their population size by approximately 16,000 times. Their biological makeup has a strong radars for moisture and greenery, and due to which, wherever the moisture and the greenery is abundant, they are attracted towards that particular area, and they can cause large-scale destruction to the standing crops, to the of the farmlands, which ultimately lies in their way in which they are traveling. These particular locusts are highly adaptive and they change their particular behavior according to the weather and the region of the area in which they are currently persisting. Their migration follows the path of the prevailing wind, and as the prevailing wind uh, flows, they ultimately follows the prevailing wind along. There is a climate linked in change, or there is a climate linked reason in for their infestation that can be seen in the form of, as you must be knowing that in 2019 there was a large scale Indian Ocean dipole, and that particular strong Indian Ocean dipole was the reason behind heavy rainfall, or it has caused torrential rainfall in the various parts of the world, like India, West Asia, Oman, Yemen, etc. And this torrential rainfall has ultimately left the dry sand which lies in this particular area to become very heavy and moisture laden. These particular moisture laden soils ultimately facilitated the formation of several locust swarms in those areas and ultimately facilitated the breeding of these insects. Also, the favorable conditions help the swarms to fly and breed in the traditional grounds in Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. And as you must be knowing that this year the summers was unusually mild. So these unusually mild summers ultimately come accompanied with the several spells of rainfall over the north and the western parts of India helped these insects to breed, and there was a large scale influx of the population of these particular insects. So these insects are very notorious and have large-scale destruction or can cause devastation to the agriculture, as we have already discussed. Now let's discuss its specific impacts on the agriculture as well. See, these locust swarms devastate the crops and cause major agriculture damage, which can ultimately result into famine and starvation. Though they occur in many parts of the world, these locusts are mostly devastating or most destructive in the sustenance farming regions of Africa. They destroy the leaves, flowers, fruits, barks, and the growing points, and also destroy the plants by their sheer weight as they descend on them in massive numbers. So you can see that these locusts can ultimately uh, threaten the economic livelihood of approximately one-tenth of the world's human populace. So they are very devastating as far as the food security of our country is concerned. Now let's move forward to understand that what can be the measures that can be taken so that we can see some relief from this menace. The first such measure can be seen in the form of spraying of the insecticides. Uh, these insecticides can be sprayed from the ground or from the air or from the aerial route. But it must be remembered here that throwing or over exploitation of the insecticides over these pests can also harm the soil in turn and can cause some dangerous environmental concerns as well. So this is not a suggested strategy or a popular strategy to follow upon. Second strategy is the use of biological control mechanisms. Like some natural predators can be employed, like wasps, birds, and reptiles, for controlling these locusts and see some relief from these particular things because these natural predators can ultimately consume them and eliminate them from the whole area. Thirdly, some microbial biopesticides, which are fungus-based green mussel, can be used as a preventive measure to cater to manage the swarms which are well established into a particular area. Along with this, some integrated locust management systems can be installed and can be established so that better relief can be seen in the form of tackling measures. Also, locust monitoring stations are usually employed because they collect data on the environment, ecological conditions, and the locust numbers as well, preventing a precautionary measure in front of us. Thus, the locust monitoring station can ultimately present a precaution rather than a cure if we want to tackle these locusts and see some betterment in the whole scenario. Last but not the least, to stop the insects from entering a particular location, creating some exclusion zones can also work as a strategy because some exclusion zones can be created by the use of fire and smoke. And these fire and smoke can provide a short-term relief measure and stop these insects from entering a particular location for a short-term relief. So it was all in this particular video or the information about this particular video. So thank you. Have a very, very nice day.